Welcome, everyone, to episode 392 of Just Joshing. I'm your host, Josh Pintelresco. I write stuff in podcast 2. Today, part 3, the final chapter of Marcio Catalano is a lot. If we start with villains and we go right to the end of the conversation, there is a lot of this conversation that's just going to stay on the cutting room floor. We talked for about 4 hours altogether about so many different things. It was fun. I enjoyed the conversation greatly. I got to meet a really cool dude. And Marcio, thanks for coming on my show. So today, I realize I understand the true universal thing for love. The true universal language of love is when someone steals your food. That's when you can tell somebody likes you. So guys, if a girl is stealing your food, she likes you. Or she's just being a bully. You have to figure that one out for yourself. I don't know anything I'm talking about. Why don't we just get to the conversation, shall we?
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. So I love villains. Villains are fun because you can bend all... Heroes, to some degree, you're right.
You're about to say it. Go for it.
Heroes, you have to
They don't have any rules.
yeah, exactly. No, they don't have any rules.
Freedom.
And so it's fun because you get to play in a sandbox you don't normally get to play in as a person, because it's like, okay, because the truth of the matter is every single one of us is both hero and villain. And we have to recognize we're both hero and villain. We're not
perfect. We're human, right, Josh? We're human.
Yeah, exactly.
Good things that we do, bad things.
So here's the thing, right? I know what makes me a villain. I understand the qualities I possess that give myself my flaws. I understand the qualities I possess. I know my weaknesses in character. I know how I could very easily become a dick. And I project that in my books because it's easy. Because I understand what kind of villain I would be. They're like, or at least my villains, I understand the aspects of myself in them that I can convey. And I can play out that feel authentic. It doesn't matter what the villain does. I realize that the actions don't matter. It's all in how I tell the story of how they do those actions that make it real or not real. My villain in my first book, my very first scene with him, he's talking to his daughter about being so proud of her, and you can have anything you want, and when she says pony, he kind of panics. Daddy, you'll have to work a lot more if you want that pony, right? And that's right. So it gives you a very interesting picture of who he is right off the bat. He's not necessarily a bad guy, right?
Yeah, and he has that dynamic to his child.
Yeah.
That I'm a dad also.
Yeah, exactly.
That I may not be able to give my little girl something.
And his job is mob enforcer / salesman. He does the whole chapter is his sales.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, kind of. Actually, they're not that different. Yeah, right. Yeah. They're not actually that different.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that territory, and then people are like, I think Josh and Marcio are really racist. And I'll be like, no, bro, we never run.
Yeah, exactly.
No. I'll be like, well, we can be racist. No, you can't. Yeah, I'm fucking Italian. So now what?
Yeah. but
pass. We can talk about gangsters all we want.
Damn right.
As long as Josh is wearing pinstripes and a fedora with a fine feather in it. But if he calls me and he doesn't wear that outfit,
yeah, well, we'll talk about the bet I made if I win a second Aurora at some point.
Off to the left there.
It's all good. And you know what? I can tell you the truth. I'll tell you about a bet I did with Pat Flelling that ironically isn't that far from that.
Wait. Yeah, we're having too much fun. Finish the villain.
Yeah, so he's a mob enforcer. I mean, he's terrifying. Like he has a zombie mobster who is the physical expression of terror. Right? Only says one word. He's not a nice zombie at all. Right?
Are there nice zombies? Wait a minute. That's
no. Actually, so
that's not a nice zombie.
So here's the thing.
You see why I like the sentence, right?
Yeah.
I don't care what you think about zombies, bro.
Yeah.
This guy, he's not a nice zombie.
Exactly.
At all.
I might steal that when I write the.
Do it. It's a funny sentence.
Honestly, so the sequel, the little side story I'm writing about is how his daughter actually takes over the mob with the zombie mobster. It's actually kind of hilarious. So I'm having fun with that, right? But again, it doesn't like this the concept I'm having, right? He's a terrifying villain, but he also has a human side to him, right? He's not all bad. He's definitely not all good, right? He's not all good at all, right? But
no one is. Your point that you're making is no one is.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about mobsters, let's talk about the pinnacle of mobster characters, which is Don Corleone, played by Marlon Brando.
Yes.
Vito Corleone in The Godfather.
Yes.
You know, I don't know how much you know about this movie, and I'm only using this as an example because I think you'll find it interesting, and it's also true. The Italian-American community in New York in the 70s had an extremely strong opposition towards The Godfather, based off the novel by Mario Puzo, to be made into a film. And the reason why is it was going to shed Italian Americans in a very, very negative light. And they didn't want it. They didn't want the movie to film in New York. They didn't want Francis Ford Coppola to bring that production to their neighborhoods, because they didn't want the big first exposure of this culture to be, look at these Guidos, you know, they're all, you know, manipulative murderers who are, you know, up to no good. And this was the attitude about The Godfather. Now, forget what you know about the success of the movie and being an instant classic and all that, and a good story. Mm-hmm. And Francis Ford Coppola had to sit down with certain folks in the community, certain very important folks, certain nefarious characters, right? Mm-hmm. And convince them, no, this is not a mafia movie.
No.
There is mafia in here. Vito Corleone is a mob boss, but this is about family. This is a family movie that happens to take place in this world. Much like The Shawshank Redemption is not about prison.
No, it's not.
The Shawshank Redemption, as the armature states, the point of the whole story is, and God damn it, my teacher just talked about this recently, get busy living or get busy dying. Mm-hmm. That's the message of the movie, so much that they even articulate it in the dialogue. Mm-hmm. And that movie's not a prison film.
No, it's not.
That movie's about hope. It's about this guy, Andy Dufresne, who gets framed for a murder he didn't commit and spends 30 years locked up, and realizes by being locked up, he's more free than he's ever been, because when he was a banker, he didn't notice his wife, he didn't notice his life, and he was just kind of cruising through his existence. And he then uses his will to live to escape and go to where he wants to. By the end of the story, he's in Mexico, and he's painting a boat, and you know, invites his good friend Red down there if he ever gets out. And so we sometimes have to tell people that the mechanism in which we're telling a story is really window dressing. Mm-hmm. It's just superficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, you know, Aliens. Oh, Aliens, 1986, great film. James Cameron, you know, Sigourney Weaver. It's about aliens.
The last great horror film.
It's not. It's about motherhood.
Yep.
No, you're wrong. Oh, yeah, I'm right. Why? She wakes up in cryo. Mm-hmm. 60 years later, when she left Earth in the first film, 1979, directed by Ridley Scott, she was on a mining expedition until that alien destroyed their ship and she barely escaped with her life. And she wakes up, and now her daughter, which was 2 or 4, I can't remember, when she left Earth, has now died at the age of 76 a few years ago when she wakes up in cryo. And who does she face in that story? Sigourney Weaver. The pinnacle of that story, when she goes to save the girl Newt, is the queen alien laying all the eggs. 2 moms working it out. That movie is not about aliens.
No.
That movie is about motherhood. Yeah. Terminator is not about Terminators. It's about humanity. John Connor is the leader of the future resistance, who is going to one day be the solution to Skynet. Everything that's gone wrong that we've created, right? He's the savior of humanity in this dark world in the future. So when we tell stories, there's always something deeper.
Always.
And
Good-
it's about the human experience.
It's the good ones. It's the good ones because.
Sorry, I ranted, but
No, it's okay.
Josh, something you said triggered something that I
No, honest to God, I mean that's what this like. We've gone all over the place, and that's the nature of this show. It just is the nature of this show.
Oh, audiobooks. I'll finish with the audio thing. Martinez and El Diablo by Monica Robinson was a lot of fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a series by Addison Kane. It's a couple books. It's about 4 books. And then there was like a prequel spin-off. And there's a character named Shepard in there that I like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like an omniverse story where there are these beings that are kind of like cat-like, but have human qualities. They are feline in detail and appearance, but they're like Homo erectus, standing up on 2 feet, right?
Interesting.
And he is quiet, brooding, muscular, intense, dangerous, but he's trying to take care of this female character in the story who's a frail flower, so to speak. And he's brutal. He's brutal with everything and everyone. He's a bruto. But with her, it's so beautiful to watch such a big monster try to delicately not rip the petals off the flower, you know? And I found that dynamic so beautiful. And there's a voice that goes with it. And so when I narrate that particular character, what I enjoyed doing from a physiological point of view was that you have to make the words that he's saying clear enough to understand what he's saying. But there is not a constant purring, but a low rumble that's always there in his voice. It's very guttural, it's very deep, and it takes a while to get into. Because as he's saying things, he's elongating certain words, and he's kind of emotionally and deeply feeling his way through what he's trying to express, and it takes on a vibration that hopefully the listeners have felt, I hope, you know. And I love that character because it was the only character in my entire life that I came across where that dawned on me to do that, where I don't have to as much articulate. I do have to articulate. It has to be clear what he's saying. It can't just be, mumble mouth. But it's got to be like the words are writing on the river of his soul, you know. And I get to reprise him because, amazingly, she had started with one narrator in the first book of the series, and for whatever reasons that I'm not aware of, her second book came to me. She, when a narrator doesn't continue, first of all, books are on a book-by-book basis, right? You do an agreement with ACX or your agency, and you're doing one book at a time. And it's kind of an unspoken rule that if you commit to something, you're going to continue that series, because no one wants Michael Keaton Batman and Batman Returns, and then Val Kilmer and Batman Forever, and George Clooney and Batman and Robin. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You get it, right? So you want to have consistency. You want to have a singular voice. And what had happened is, in the first book, they had used another narrator. I don't know who he is. I don't even recall. And I came in the second book, again by accident. I actually told my agency I couldn't do it at the time because I had some other things going on. And eventually we came right back around to it. And I ended up doing the second book. And then I did the third book. Then I did the prequel spin-off that led to a branch story, a one-off, which now is going to have a sequel too. But that first book was done by a different narrator, and now I have that upcoming. So
Nice.
I have all my little upcoming audiobooks right here. I'm booked for the rest of this year.
Awesome.
And I'm like, okay, that one is coming up in 3 books. So
Nice.
And it's cool because I'm looking forward to reprising the role, you know?
Yeah, no, it's your regular character and it's something you connect with. He sounds very Beast, as in Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, bro. You just said it, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds it. And
yeah, totally. You just reminded me that you made the neuro association for me, yeah.
Yeah,
It's totally Beast and Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And Josh, I totally envision him that way.
Yeah,
it's
no.
funny because I totally see it that way.
I actually, so, okay, we're going to move on to the next thing, but I'm going to just write a bit of commentary.
Come on, man. You don't want to give a Disney plug for a few.
No, not Disney. Actually, not Disney. It's not a Disney plug. More like.
Gosh, I want to Jerry Maguire this, bro. Help me help you.
Okay, help me help you. Okay.
We need you to. Come on, Josh. The economy's in the toilet. We need you to get some Disney shares, bro.
Maybe it's okay. Disney doesn't need me. I like Disney, but I'll let Disney be Disney, and I'll be me, and we're all good. But what I was gonna say is. The beast as a concept is one of my favorite heroic archetypes. I think it's honestly probably, I think, to be perfectly honest with you, I heard once from Jordan Peterson that a moral man, that a moral man, a good man is not necessarily a nice man. It's someone like, it is actually someone kind of like a beast, someone that has a dark side, someone that can have those dark impulses, but they have them under control. A good person isn't necessarily someone that just only thinks positive thoughts. It's someone that actually can see all the spectrum, but control some of the darker tendencies and utilize them to protect the family / the people they care about. And that's a very attractive quality. And actually, I think I understand that. I was too nice when I was younger, and as I've gotten older, I've become a little bit more ruthless. Not necessarily in a bad way, I'm not necessarily vicious, but I know what I will and will not do, and I have found that has served me far, far more than when I was just nice, right? And I think there's something to that. I think there's something very real about that archetype that really works.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons for it.
Yeah.
I think we touch on this for about 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I think we instinctively know that people have dualities.
Yeah.
We know that there's the person that's in the light, the person in the dark, the person we show, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's human.
Mm-hmm.
Because human beings are insecure about whatever they're insecure about. And ironically, sometimes those insecurities are no big deal.
Yeah.
You know? Like the pretty girl who thinks she's not pretty enough.
Yeah, you're like,
recognize her beauty, right? And you're staring at her going, my God, your eyes are marvelous. The way that you make that gesture is adorable. You have no idea how you look to me, how I'm admiring you. And you think of yourself as no big deal. And that's always fascinating as an example, right?
Yeah.
I think, of course, because you know what doesn't work? One-dimensional characters.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, but if I don't see Darth Vader being a father, he's just a dude running around in black with a lightsaber, barely talking and going, and I'm like, man, somebody give that guy, does he have asthma?
Yeah.
And I'm not making fun of people with asthma. I had asthma as a kid. So,
yeah.
But because we want to see, I don't know, tell me what you think about this. Even behind monsters, we want to see the humanity in that monster, that there's something beyond the base primal reptilian brain instinct, that there's got to be something more.
Well, it's how you got there. Right, if I can understand how you
got there.
Yeah, it's how you got there.
Yeah.
You're right.
Sure.
It's how you got there, because if I can understand how you got there, right? Even if I don't have the whole story, if I have an idea that maybe there was enough pain, maybe there was enough something that happened, I get where you're coming from. That doesn't mean that I agree with you. That doesn't mean I am improving what your chosen course of actions are. But if suddenly, you know, I'm a tragedy, like Darth Vader's a tragedy. He could have been something much greater than he was, and he got and at the wrong place at the wrong time. He was vulnerable, and someone took advantage of him. Happened to anybody, right? Not the mask, like that stuff is just window dressing. But the basic, yeah, right. But the whole idea is, you know, he was a gifted prodigy that honestly wasn't appreciated by, like honestly didn't get the respect he deserved from his own order. Right? And was manipulated by both sides, and to the point where he just... Yeah, what?
Like every teen.
Yeah, exactly.
Teenager that has a propensity to either go in the direction of for the greater good.
And the order made a mistake not recognizing for what he was, and, you know, he got taken advantage of. and it can happen to anybody. Like, things like that can happen. Now, do I think that was a well-told story in particular? The prequels? Nope. But it is what it is, right? But I can understand, like, he's not just a monster. The scene that did it for me, for him, was the scene when the guy does a report to Vader. And Vader's in his chamber, and the mask is being lowered down.
Yeah.
Without saying a single word, right? You could tell he was a victim. Like, you didn't know how or why, but you knew he was victimized by something because you caught him in what seemed to be a very vulnerable moment. And that was such an interesting character piece, and nothing was said. That's the advantage of visual, right? Nothing needed to be said. You got it.
It needs to be said. It's understood. It's clear.
Yeah.
It's a visual storytelling, right?
Yeah.
It's not tell and tell. It's show and tell.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so brilliantly done. All right. So.
I love Vader, and if I could show you what I have here, I have a lightsaber right over here. I'll show you later.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, but I think
for audiobooks, my attitude is it's not something I wanted to get into, so to speak, just because that was my aim. But I am grateful that my friend suggested it and saw something in me. I probably have to give him this credit. Like, I probably have to give everybody this credit because you don't do anything independently. Everything is interdependence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're not completely on your own, and you're not going to be completely have your hand held in life. It's going to be a series of connect the dots, people taking you through things, guiding you, right? And my buddy was kind enough to suggest something that he thought I might be able to do, and I kind of fell into it. And I don't do it full time. I do it part time because it's not my primary. But I love it because it allows me the flexibility to stay home and to pick and choose literally the stories that I enjoy, and hopefully, do some justice for the clients, for the authors. And the authors are, man, they're just so nice. You almost can't even say no.
Yeah.
Because they get so excited that they make me feel guilty, like I should be doing more.
It's good though.
The thing is, they're so complicated. Because I imagine putting yourself in their shoes. Because I want to talk about this. Imagine putting yourself in their shoes. They've poured all this time and love and hard work into this story that they've conjured up. And all they want to do now is give it some reality as if it's really happening. They want to hear the voice. They want to be in that location. They want to see that scene play out, that dynamic take place. And you're doing that for them. Yeah, and they're excited. Like you would be to see your book get published. Like
Absolutely.
You would be to see your novel get adapted into an animated series on Netflix, an original And so when you see that, it literally does give you, it really does literally give you back some energy and some inspiration. Absolutely. It's almost kind of, they're so excited that is contagious, and it excites you because you're excited that they're excited about, right? There's a synergy there. And so I think that's one of the coolest things about it.
Yes.
And once you're done with that, they can't take that away from you. You did that. That happened. And so it makes you, when I'm in that booth, I'm mindful, like, okay, you know what? I gotta do a good job. I gotta do a good job because someone trusted me. Right? And if I'm having a bad day, that's not their problem.
No.
And if I'm not awake enough, and I'm having, sleeping disorder, or I'm dealing with this or that in my life, you leave that at the door. You leave that at the door, and you come into this world and do your job. And your job is to go in and live in this story from this point of view, in that moment, from moment to unanticipated moment. Because that's what you got trusted to do. And it's fragile, and you've got to respect it. Because if you don't, hey pal, go be a Subway sandwich artist, go do accounting, right? If you're not going to do that, right? If you're not going to give it the courtesy and the respect that it deserves, or just don't do it. Don't do it. You can take another book. You can do something else, right? You don't have to do that title, but if you're going to do something, do it.
Do it to the best of your ability.
abilities. Because at the end of the day, it's not the money, it's not the agreement. Yeah, you can agree to something and it can be obligatory because you got to keep your word. But when no one's looking, it's your integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? Are you the person that says something and does it, or are you blah 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 blah? Because if you're blah 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 blah, guess what? There's plenty of that. There's plenty of that. You're not special. You're not bringing anything cool to the table. So shut up, right? So I'm on this journey now. I've enjoyed it. I mean, every book that I've done, I've enjoyed it because nobody forces me the way it works. At least in my situation is actually about 50% of the time I found the author myself. I've gone on Amazon saying, "Oh, that person doesn't have an audiobook. What's the story about?" You know.
Yeah.
And I brought them to the agency, or I auditioned for it and then sent the audition to the engineer and said, "Yo, I found this one on ACX. It looks good. I dig the story. It's got good sales." It's, you know, there's a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Some personal interest, some business sense, because it is a business. You got to make money at it for your time. You got to be compensated for your time. And and then you do it. But every single time I did a book, it's a book that I wanted to. And there's still even surprises, because sometimes you get a book that you thought was going to go this way and it goes that way. You know, because you can try to read stuff as much as you want, but sometimes, you know, you can't get to everything, right?
No. Oh, no.
And sometimes you're surprised and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. One cool thing that I've never told anybody, I guess I'll do it on your show,
Yeah.
is within the next year, my goal is to write my first
Good luck.
erotic novel. Because people who narrate and write their own stories and self-narrate their own stories, they're in the minority. For obvious reasons. Authors typically don't want to do it. They want to hire someone who does it, who's good at that thing. And sometimes, unfortunately, when I have seen the examples of authors who have self-narrated, it's gone not too well because, again, that's not your forte.
No.
And it'd be like taking a narrator and asking him just to write something. If he's not a writer and he knows something about writing, you might not get the best result. And so I've got a story I want to tell, and it's based off an old fairy tale with a twist, but an erotic version of it. And I've actually seen a few folks do this,
Mm-hmm.
but not to the degree that I'd like to do it.
That'll be fun.
Where I thought, I've seen this done with this particular story. I've seen the particular story that's in public domain that I like to take. It has been done as an erotic novel, but it was one-dimensional. It was a bit flat. It's an older book as well. It felt rigid. And I thought, well, you know, I have an idea of how I'd like to tell the story. You know? And I might take a shot at it next year. You know, I write notes on it and jot things down, and I'm like, well, maybe in 2021 I will write this story and put it out there. So now now who knows if I don't do it, man.
Well,
We'll see. It's not, it's a thing I'm kicking around, but in the meantime, I'm already writing stuff. You know, I'm already doing my own stuff. It's just I've never swam in that pool yet. You know.
No.
It's one of those things. You know how you do this, like, oh, I've never done that before. I've never written a erotic novel, and I'm thinking, and I'm reading them all the time. And you know, when you're reading them, you know what you know. You're like, oh, that's pretty good, or that's not pretty good, right? You have your own feelings about things, and you're like, and then you go, hey, why not me? There's plenty of people out there writing this stuff. I think I can do it. Towards the idea that destiny is a path, right? Because that's the moral of the story. Every story has a moral, right? I mean, the tortoise and the hare, slow and steady wins the race. Aesop fables. So the best stories are the ones that stay with you. They're the ones that actually have something to them because you're either elevated, you learn something, you're turned on to something you didn't know. Otherwise, it's just going to be, something that's entertaining. You can watch something entertaining for 2 hours, like an amusement ride, but when it's done, it doesn't stay with you. And the things that stay with you are the things that affect you on a human level,
Well, so I'm going to go in a slightly different tack here.
Well, I went on a rant there, didn't I?
No, you did. That's okay. I mean, there's some really cool shit. Like Eddie. I would love to meet Eddie at some point too. He sounds like he'd be a really cool chat just to see what that would be like. But No, I'm gonna throw a wrinkle. See, I believe every story we put together as creators, we create comes from ourselves. There's some aspect of ourselves that we're bringing to the surface. The kid that started off as a geek instead of a warrior is probably not that different from the guy that was 8 years old in his room listening to Alice in Wonderland on the record, and reading books and stuff like that. And his father's like, "Get out of the house!" And you're like, "Nuh-uh." Right? There's probably some similarities there. I wouldn't be surprised if there were at least a couple, right? And right. And I think for you, I mean, if I were to sum your story up until this point, based on everything I've heard in the last few hours, you have figured out, like I said, sometimes you, like I said, depending on, as I said earlier, you're gonna do the thing no matter what. The only thing you gotta decide is which end of you shows up first. There's been a few times where it's been the head, and sometimes it's been the other end of you, right? Sometimes, depending on the situation. But either way, it seems to me like the biggest thing you've learned as you've gotten older and hopefully wiser. We'll leave that one. We'll leave that one to the.
Hopefully.
Yes, we'll leave that one to someone else.
Yeah.
But you've learned how to embrace doing what you have to do, and figured out doing it the way you want to. Is that accurate?
Oh, that's marvelous.
Yeah.
Josh, I think you should be a shrink.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Yeah, I think when someone says something to you like that is heartfelt, which what you just said is, I have to admit the truth, man. My dad was an athlete. He played soccer for one of the minor league divisions of Argentina.
So he was very talented.
He was what they called at the time fullback. He was an enforcer. He was a bruiser. And I was born in Argentina. And my first language is Spanish. And my second language is English. And I don't have an accent in English. And as a kid, what is that? You're sitting in a room, you're drawing stuff, you're reading books. You can't make friends because you're living in your fantasy world. You've got friends, they're just not real. Right? And then you go to school in America, and there's always some kids that say stuff to you. My life I wasn't terribly bullied, but I think every kid faces adversity at some point in primary and secondary school, or even high school. But you're speaking Spanish and you're learning English, and your English is broken, and so you're saying whatever sentence you're saying in English, and then instead of saying the word but, you're saying the word pero in Spanish, which either means but or dog, depending on the usage. And people are teasing you. People are saying, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And maybe that's the part that's connected to voiceover, which is like, what? Maybe it has to be said in a Spanish accent. You know what? Someday, you white devil, I will speak your language better than you, and I'm going to record my English, which I cannot speak right now, and you're going to pay for it.
And here you go.
And maybe that's where that comes from.
Well, it just like, well, okay, for me, like my novel, when you break it all down, is about coming out of your comfort zone. My character's a coward. He literally goes in everything accent. It's just his nature. I don't want this adventure stuff. I don't want to do it. And yet, it finds him no matter where he goes. So,
especially because he's a coward.
Exactly. It's fun. It's such a blast.
Looking at you, right? So,
but the thing is,
I think what you said. Sorry.
Yeah. So, at this point,
if we're being honest, the dynamic of the hero boy who's a bit shy in the story and is not living up to the expectations of his father. Yeah, that's the dynamic.
Well, it's something you gravitate.
You gotta write what you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You gotta write what you know. You gotta write what you feel.
Yeah.
What you're passionate about. And like you said, the thing that I've learned is, you tell me what you think. You're not going to get to do what you want to do in life exactly the way you want to do it. You're not.
No.
You're not. There's all of have these exterior forces working most often against you, right? Or not in your direction, right? And the constant is that cliche, that the constant frustration, the constant goal is to retain yourself in a world that's constantly trying to rearrange you.
I think,
and you're going to have to maneuver this world. You got to do it your way. Otherwise, you're not going to survive, because you're going to get to a point where you get to that place and you're not yourself anymore. Right?
So
at that point, you've lost yourself, right?
I've grown up moving around. I've grown up I've been in every kind. I've been dirt poor. I've been comfortable. I've been all these things in between. I've learned that for me, I think everybody has different lessons they need to learn. For me, I've learned the art of surrender. I don't fight the current. I go with the current, and I let it take me wherever it's going to take me. By and large, if there's somewhere I really, really want to go, I put my foot down. But by and large, I let the current take me where it's going to take me. I have found that embracing those accidents, embracing those moments of chaos, I find myself in a position where I'm good. I'll still struggle. I still have to. Again, I don't get it exactly the way I want to. But when I look at what I wanted as a kid, I didn't want to have a life like everybody else has. And honestly, if you look at it strictly from a material standpoint, I don't have a lot of things a lot of people have. But I don't need it. I get this opportunity I get to travel and talk to incredible people, overachievers, every one of them, about how they live their lives. And they get to talk to me, and we get this great back and forth. And it's phenomenal. I get that. I get to travel and meet people who I inspire them. And this sounds like I'm blown away by this simply because I'm a man with nothing, and I don't mean that like it's because that's just literally like how I see myself. I'm the man with nothing to lose, and that's it. And I play my life as if I have nothing to lose, and as a result, I've had this very unique cascading effect in my life. I've embraced my accidents. I walk, and I'm not afraid of anything. Did I get the life I exactly envisioned at this point in my life? No. But is it like anything else I know out there? No. I got exactly what I wanted. Just never in the way I anticipated. And it sounds to me, you it's the same thing, right? That part I think is where everybody has in common. You're right. We never get the roadmap we envision to get to where we want. It never works out that way, ever. No, ever. But I think, but if you're looking at what you wanted to perform, you wanted to tell stories.
Yeah.
You've done that your whole life.
Yeah, but now at this point in my life, I know something that I didn't know before. There's a clarity I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
I think on that early path, you're trying everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because you're trying everything out. That's vastly different. But I think you're searching because you're trying to do the same thing through all those things. And eventually you get to a point where you realize, like, oh. And what I realized is I want to spend the rest of my life until I die putting down, hopefully, good lessons that are meaningful to me, that I think are worth passing on. And I'm certainly not, those stories have been told too. Those lessons that, there's only so many lessons you can teach, but you gotta teach it in your own way. And hopefully I can put that out there and write some stories that somebody comes along and is a young person and sees something that inspires them. The same way that when I was a kid, 1980, The Empire Strikes Back, my mom took me to see my first American movie, Man. And that set it off. That just started it. Like, you just lit the fire. I'm a 6.5-year-old kid in Seattle in 1980. And you take me to see The Empire Strikes Back. It's all downhill from here. You know that, right? Because Star Wars is, you can't start with that movie, right? Can I just work my way up, right? And the thing is it stays with you. Those things stay with you. And the one constant in my life is trying things out, taking the adventure, observing what happens, and hopefully coming out on the other side with a lesson that I can apply that helps you evolve and grow. And if somebody gives you the inspiration, when you're a kid and you love whatever you love, I worshipped Darth Vader. In my teens, I was watching Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver and Mean Streets with Harvey Keitel, one of his very first role. And I'm watching the acting, and I'm watching Marlon Brando, and you see these people doing these things that you want to participate in, and you don't know at that point because it's so far away if you're ever even going to get to that. It feels so far away. It feels so far away because you're a kid in your hometown, and this person is a household name internationally, and you're watching them, and they don't even know you exist, and you know everything about them, right? And it just seems insurmountable. It seems impossible. But eventually, if you pay attention long enough, you realize, no, it's not impossible. I just gotta bust my ass. Gotta work at it. Mm-hmm. And there are steps to get there, but you gotta put the time in. You gotta put the work in. It's not gonna come free. It's not gonna come cheap. You have to take a risk. You can't be a coward in a room with a thesis, with your intellectual idea of how things are gonna go, because they don't go the way that you plan. You gotta jump in, and you gotta see what happens in this experiment.
Exactly.
And then, hopefully, if you learn anything, you do have a responsibility, I believe. I'm sure half the world would disagree. But I believe when you open your mouth as an artist, if you have the nerve to call yourself that, because I have not called myself that yet. I don't think I've earned that. It's sacred, and just because you go to a fucking Starbucks and you pop up in your laptop doesn't mean you are, okay? Because there's a lot of pseudo people who love being in the environment, just claim that they are, but they don't do the work, right? And you gotta do the work. That's what makes you what you are. What you do makes you what you are. Not the title.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I want to make something that communicates something greater. And if you're an artist, you do have a responsibility when you open your mouth to say something. And it should be elevated. It should be helpful. It should be positive. It should contribute. It should be a solution to a problem. Because if you're just going to complain, or you're just going to make something confusing, or you're going to try to manipulate people, or you're going to try to, because of your insecurity, make something that can't be understood or throws people off, so you can laugh at people and say the audience is stupid, you're a genius, you're an asshole. Sorry. Art serves the community. Art is for people. It is not a magical potion that only some have. Everyone has talent, Josh. Mm-hmm. Everyone has talent. And if you think you don't, I guess we're saying what I want to say here. We're getting to that. It's starting to bubble up like a volcano. What I hope people realize before I die, and if I can spend my whole life fighting for it and proving it, is that we all have talent, and the only difference between you and someone else is that they worked at it. If you see a painter and they can paint and you can't, that person put in thousands of hours. They grabbed paint, they experimented with acrylic and charcoal, and they tried all these things to see what works and what doesn't work. They're not smarter than you. They're not more talented than you. They've just put in the work. Every single person has talent. What are you going to do with it? And if you don't get there, sorry, pal. It's your own damn fault. But not the myth that you couldn't do it. Not the myth. There are certain factors that are against you. Sure, you can't. Some luck is involved. But I believe if you work really hard and you get good, you know what the one thing that is guaranteed is? The one thing that is unquestioned? If you work your ass off towards something and you get good, you are good. Mm-hmm. Minimum. Someone may not like your stuff. You may not get a big picture deal or a book published. But if it's good, good. good is always good. No one ever says, look, yeah, gold. I don't like yellow, and things that are shiny, therefore, it has no value. You know what? You don't like gold, you don't have to wear it. You don't like yellow, it's not shiny. Guess what? It trades on the stock market for a fucking shitload of money. You're wrong. Yeah, there's certain things. Water is wet, pal. Sorry. There's no dry water, right? And if you're good, people will notice. Not everybody will love it. Not everybody will agree you said something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got something that you don't need approval from everybody else. Does that make sense?
No. Yep. I think this is actually
and
good.
I hope people trust that. I hope people trust their God-given talent, their instincts.
I think this.
Josh, your compass is right. Right? You're right.
Yeah.
You're always right. You just gotta trust it, man.
I think this is a good place to actually wrap this all up, because this is a good place to wrap the interview up. I think the success varies. I think taking swings at the bat, you don't know if you're going to hit the
commercial success.
Yeah. Commercial success. I think general success varies. Not everything you set out for goes the way you anticipate.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. It's a crapshoot, like it may.
Yeah, it might. Yes, but the thing is, here's the important thing. Okay, you swung. It doesn't matter if you strike out. It doesn't matter if you hit the home run. It doesn't matter if you hit the single, the double, the triple. It doesn't matter if you go out, you run an out. It doesn't matter. You swung, right? That says a lot more about you, right, than if you didn't swing at all. And even if you strike out, even if you ground out, even if you foul out, whatever, guess what? You can learn from that. The next swing can be better. The next like you don't just get one swing, right? The thing I think a lot of people don't realize is you get many swings at the bat every day. The real question is, and you're not. And again, you don't need it. You really don't need a high batting average. It can be a .110. It doesn't matter, right? Right? All that matters is when you swing, you connect. And when you connect, no matter how you do it, people notice. And when, right? People notice. And
they respond to that, don't they?
Yeah, they do. That's it.
People see you trying in a world where
that's it.
They don't. And it does count for something.
Yeah, no, it truly does. That's the important thing. Like Martin Luther King Jr. said this best. He tried is a hell of a tombstone. It really is.
Say it again. What was that?
He tried is a hell of a tombstone. Right? That's honestly right. And it is. And honestly, I don't care where you end up in life. I care that you try. That's it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Because it all starts there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It all starts. If you do nothing, you get nothing. If you do something, maybe you get something.
Well, yeah, nothing's guaranteed. That's the only. That's why the roadmap to success never works out, because nothing's guaranteed.
But if nothing's guaranteed, now you most certainly have to try.
Yeah.
Because you know what is guaranteed? You do nothing, you're guaranteed to get nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but that's that's the thing, right? That's the important thing. I think for most people, I don't care what you do. Like in terms of people in general, I don't care what you do with your life. In terms of I want you to find what you love. I want you to do it with all your heart, soul, and mind. Eliminate the possibility of you beating yourself. You can do that. Yeah, you may not win every battle, but you will win some of them. And when you do,
in the battle. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So,
yeah, you're right.
On that note, we have had a hell of a talk. So there's still only two. There's two.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not. It means that I might have to come back in tomorrow to finish the book. It's all good. It's not. This was a good chat. Let's wrap up just two things.
Sure.
Talk about your comic again and where people can find it, and where people can find you.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they're interested in my acting, to see what I've done in acting, because there's a 10-year span there in film and TV.
Mm-hmm.
Sons of Anarchy, Iron Man 2, there's a couple.
Yeah, a couple things.
No
Yes, a couple things.
They can go. They can go to. And I'll have to preface it with, please don't think I'm an A-lister. I'm not Tom Cruise, but I'm most certainly not Tom Cruise.
Yes.
C-R-U-Z.
Yes.
So I've done some stuff, but I've done it for a while, and I've made a living at it. MarcioCatalano.com.
Okay.
Makes it easy. My name, Marcio, last name C-A-T like a cat, A-L-A-N-O.com. Audiobooks, oh man, just punch in the same name into Audible, and they're all listed there. I've certainly done more books overseas in China because I've done a lot of children's education. Ironic, how ironic is that? I talk dirty in America, and then I talk to children in China. Boy,
Heroes and villains.
I feel like Two-Face.
Yes.
No. So audiobooks there, and Boy from Atlantis.com. The comic book, hopefully when done, will be a 14 book series. Currently, they're in a comic book format. Once we're done with the whole story, we'll put it in an omnibus, and it will be one big graphic novel. And there's a lot of cool stuff that you can see on Instagram and Facebook. Just punch in Boy from Atlantis. You'll see all the cool art, the 3D stuff. There are side stories that we're doing. There are shorts that accompany the main series. So as we put out an issue, there's also short stories that act as a supplement companion. And I think you'll be surprised. We invented a language for the characters. We've got 3D stuff. Eddie's the primary illustrator. Lucas Gattoni did our first comic book. He's worked on a few things. He's a bilingual letterer who speaks Spanish and English. And hopefully in the next year we'll get some funding from some investors in China and
Continue.
maybe turn it into something bigger. So
That's awesome. Just Joshing is sponsored by Wall of Wishes by Susie Vidori. Wall of Wishes is the conclusion of the Aurora-nominated trilogy by Susie. Ada and Courtney are forced to join forces as the school and the fountain are in danger of going away forever. And if the fountain is destroyed, what will that do to Ada and Courtney? Wall of Wishes is available now at Owl's Nest Books. Click on the link in the description below to place your order. And that is my conversation with Marcio Catalano, at least the parts that have aired here. I hope you guys enjoyed the interesting journey that is Marcio, and I'm excited as well. It was an experience. Let me tell you, I learned an awful lot. So Marcio, thank you very much for having me for coming onto my show. I appreciate it very much. All right, so Alice Zero is going to be officially up on order by tomorrow, Sunday night. I'm gonna figure out this logo thing, and if I can't figure out this logo thing, I'm gonna go to Mackenzie Carr and go, please save me, and which she might just do. Who knows? I do know that by tomorrow it'll be done. It's short but fun. It'll be a 99-cent edition for people to buy and invest in, and I hope you guys do. I'm really proud of it. So the 3 things I've learned in this time. I kind of wanted to do this as a real quick wrap up. 1, history repeats itself. I have been stunned. People are shocked about what's going on in the United States. I'm not. I haven't been for a very, very long time because I recognize what Trump's done and I've seen the pattern. Trump is Reagan, who was Nixon. And if you look at all 3 of them, they all did the same thing during all their health crises. During Bill Clinton's run, Fauci pledged to get a vaccine in 2 years. Did not happen. No vaccine, nothing came about. And so you can look at all these little things, and you can guess where the future is going to go. And there shouldn't be any surprises to anybody. I'm actually really stunned about that one. 2, nothing's really changed in the sense of how life works from when the world went crazy. This pressure we're feeling, about we can die at any moment, that there's danger, there's always been danger. At some point you got to recognize, and I realize this, you know what, I can wake up, COVID, no COVID, I could wait. I could not wake up tomorrow. I'm not guaranteed anything. There's always a risk going out the door. And if I go out the door, I'm taking that risk willingly. Sometimes the risk is worth it. Like today, I had lunch with my grandmother and her boyfriend. Reinhardt is one of the nicest dudes. I'm really happy for my grandmother. I've never seen her this happy in my life. And I'm happy to see it. She deserves it. And which leads to probably the most important lesson I've learned in this time. Life goes on. You can't control you can't control the hand life deals you sometimes. But what you can do is you can play it out to the best of your abilities. I made the decision to become a freelancer. Sounds crazy, but I've done okay so far. And it's working out little by little. Like, the economy doesn't matter. The world going crazy doesn't matter. Life goes on. And, lots of people will tell you wear a mask. Lots of people will tell you, stay safe. And I don't, that's not what I'm going to do. It to me, there's enough people doing that stuff right now. What isn't being done right now? Be kind, which is the last lesson I've learned. Kindness really goes a long way. It's some of the easiest things to do. So this is what I did. So I did this in lieu of, I haven't gone and said I appreciate you to people for a long time. This week I decided to kind of revisit that tradition, but in a really fun way. So in people's Facebook inboxes, I left a very special card with a poem. I might read it next week. Be also a little preview of Alice Zero, because I think this poem is going to find its way somewhere in Alice. Maybe I leave it out of Zero and put it right into 1, but because it really fits. It's a little bit of hope in the darkest of places, and it fits Alice. And like I said, it's been a blast. So, all that being said, it's time not to be afraid. It's just time to go for it. And that will do it for this episode of Just Josh.
Ways. You can subscribe to the podcast. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher.
You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, pretty much every podcast player you can imagine. I am there. So definitely come and subscribe to it. My book, The Cloud Diver, I'm super proud of it. Take a look at the link below if you got a couple bucks. I also got merchandise below if you got a couple bucks. It's all there. My Twitter and Instagram is Joshua Pintellaresco. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pintellaresco. My newsletter is in the description below. This week we talk about why you fire people. And I think it's a good one for a freelancer to understand. Might have to ask somebody actually for a little alternative advice. But anyways, we'll get to that another day. Stay inspired. Stay true to yourself. And find joy. Because even now, life goes on. And so do we. And I forget this song, so let's go to history. One by one.
Josh.